those who are here for the first time. Bored of being bored. It's the title of the next session. Apparently not many are bored. Just for all the titles we are bored about. New York City is not the city to be bored. Lots of excitement. Lots of activities. But still, even though there may be lots of excitement, even though there may be many things going on, even though we might be busy, it might be still possible that we are inside, we kind of feel bored. Deep inside we feel, is this all? Isn't there something higher, something better? So today's session we will explore a little bit what is this boredom about and what is the root of boredom and how could we shift it around to have a bit more adventurous experiences, even though there might not be any excitement externally going on. You like that? Anyone here bored? Do you have any idea what the reason is why you feel bored? Anyone can sing. When you feel bored, what is the reason?
You're not challenged.
You're not challenged.
No purpose.
No purpose. Very good. Not challenged, no purpose. Anyone else? That's all?
Maybe you're ready for a new adventure, a new thing.
You want something new?
Yeah.
It'd be weird.
But we get new things all the time. You just got a new iPhone and they have another one. You just get used to one app and they have an upgrade that throws everything off again.
I think we have too much.
Very good. We're bored because we have too much.
It's a good point.
So you can't decide what to do actually. So you have that feeling sometimes you need to buy something, but they have like 30 variety, 30 possibilities,
Yeah.
and
It's too much.
then you can't decide which one. Anything else?
Sometimes we are bored when there is nothing to do.
Bored when there is nothing to do.
In New York.
We're bored because we're conditioned to think that we have to do something.
We're bored because we're conditioned to think that we have to do something.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good.
One time I was on a retreat. This is in our headquarters of the Brahma Kumaris in India, and they gave us the assignment every day, compulsory half an hour doing nothing. That was like the most difficult thing. And that includes no reading, not actively writing or studying or meditating, just doing nothing.
I read that neuroscientists have found that they gave meditators the instruction, don't meditate, just relax. And they found that the brain waves were more active when they were told not to meditate, not to do anything. And it's because when we don't have something to do, our minds go crazy, ruminating and worrying and to-do lists.
Monkey chatter.
The thing happened yesterday. They call it something like the default network. So that when we're not occupied, we we go to really unpleasant places in our minds.
And we're not occupied, it is the mind going crazy, you could say that, right? And then all kinds of thoughts are there. Maybe that is actually the reason why we're looking for something new all the time. Something else, something different. And some people I know, they, in the morning, the television is still on because it was the whole night on. And they put on the radio and then they check their phone for some messages whilst they're looking into the newspaper for what happened overnight. So many things at the same time. And then still being bored.
I noticed I get bored with the present moment. So like I finished reading The Power of Now book, and so I can force myself to be in the present moment and not be thinking about the past or the future for like a short period of time. But what often pulls me away from that is like a boredom.
Bored of the present moment.
Like the present moment, yeah. Like a present moment that doesn't have me fantasizing about the past or the future, which is more exciting
Than the present.
than the present, which is absent of thought, really. It's just,
Because we're not comfortable in quiet and in peace, you say you want it, right? But when you get to that state in quiet and in peace, you don't know what to do with it, right? And if you think of all your courses, you say take yourself into that realm, because your body is not used to that. Your mind, you're like, I'm so bored. I'm too quiet. I'm too silent. I'm too. So it's not a normal state of mind that you've trained yourself into.
Many people, they sometimes you observe this, no? Too busy, I'm stressed, I have to do so many things. And then when they don't have anything, kind of don't know what to do. Because we are so used to action.
You get bored because if you don't get the desired anticipated results.
Very good.
I think in life, if you don't find your purpose and if you don't know what that is, you can get easily bored because you aimlessly run through life and you don't know what to do with it.
This is a very important part of boredom. Is absence of aim, absence of purpose. And this can be at different levels, no? Just simple, my aim today, or what am I doing this week, or which project to work on which, to be involved in something, but also a higher purpose and a higher aim, and that might even be more important. Because projects and things that you are involved in at work or social or community level or family level, that finishes and it has its limitations. But a higher aim or a higher purpose means your perspective on life comes into play there. Your vision of self and your vision of life comes into play there. And if there is not a feeling or a sense of higher purpose, then there will always be some underlying sense of vague boredom or what to do truly. And then you can be busy in some project at work, but there is not a bigger context in which that gives meaning to what you do or to your life. Anyone else?
I think boredom comes out of compassion.
we compare with others, and because their life may appear so glamorous. This is one of the disadvantages of social media. No? We can paint a picture of ourselves and our life as very glamorous, and that glamorous may have lasted only for the picture or during the video, because in between the videos and in between the pictures it might not have been like that at all. But we compare with it, and then you have to live up to that. Or so we feel bored because others appear to have such glamorous lives. Yeah. Anyone else? Any thoughts on bored or being bored? Boredom. Okay. So this is just one thing that would like to suggest that you can play with and just get a feel of yourself and have maybe a bit more reflection on deeper, what is your aim? What is purpose? And it is good to know that aim or purpose, if it is selfless, if it has a selfless aspect in it, then there is always a deeper sense of fulfillment. So, for example, if your purpose is to have a life that is useful, where you also benefit others, some benefit, upliftment of others, educating others, or doing some good act for the neighborhood. If there is a selfless part to aim and purpose, you can come and sit here if you want to. Easier to watch the board. You want to. Lots of space here. Then it gives a deeper sense of fulfillment. And how you can know that is, for example, if you give a gift to someone, you feel good. Even if it is just a cup of coffee or something silly, but just the act of giving, it kind of brings out a noble part within us, and it gives a little boost to our self-esteem. So when we do something selflessly that benefits someone else, even if it is at a very simple level, it kind of gives us a feeling of meaning or usefulness, and it also builds self-esteem. Now, we live in a society where we are not necessarily encouraged to do this. Not serviceable actions, or even like charitable actions, or actions where others are selflessly benefited. We don't have a culture, at least not in the West, where that is encouraged. But it brings out our, you could say, higher nature, and it gives us a good feeling of ourselves. No? And so when you think of aim or purpose, this is useful to take into consideration. Something where you selflessly do something for the greater good. But to go into this understanding of boredom, what is useful to know is something of how the human psyche works. So we are born, you draw a baby. This is a baby. And then baby grows up. Sort of. Now, as a baby, we are as if conditioned, and we learn through our growing up, through our socialization, through parents, through culture, through these days television and all the online possibilities. Because children watch television from what age? 1. Before even. Before even. Someone was telling me that a 4-month baby watches television. So they might know the television better than moms and dads' face and presence. So through all the media and social media and all the environment, we kind of get one message, and that is, you are nothing, and you are no one, unless you accumulate. Unless you accumulate. Like that? English is not my first language. Sorry if I make mistakes. But this is right?
Yes.
Accumulate. So, or accumulate or do certain things. No? Simple, silly things. You will be loved and you will be beautiful if you use this shampoo, because your hair will have more volume and you will be. You will be someone if you get an education. You will be someone if you have what? A PhD. You are someone if you have a good Facebook page. So there are many conditionings. If you dress in a certain way, if you use brands, if you are around certain people, if you live in a certain neighborhood, if you belong to a certain group, whatever. We learn to subconsciously, because much of this is not consciously happening. You are nothing and you are no one, unless you do certain things, you belong to a certain group, or you accumulate certain things. And so our sense of identity gets formed based on what we do, based on what we have, based on what we accumulate. And so if all of this is not there, deeper inside the message is, you are no one, you are nothing. As if you are dead. And this continues during our lifetime. It actually just becomes stronger. And so what happens within our psyche, if this is a picture of your mind, subconscious, Apple might come out with the camera, big picture of mind one day. In our mind, there are, from birth on, certain identities are created. So one identity is based on the bodily image, male, female, I, female. And within this, there is a little I about skin color, gender, skin color, race, and then there is a judgment of whether that is beautiful or not beautiful. Then an identity gets created of family I belong to. Another identity gets created based upon your skills. Say someone learns to play the piano. I play the piano. Another identity gets created on who my friends are. I am friends with some rich kids. Then what? I am intelligent. I learn well in school. All these identities are there. And later on, we grow older, like we get married, so I am the wife of. And it would be a good big one if I'm the wife of the doctor. Wife of the doctor, big identity. What is neurosurgeon in Sloan or something. And I live in Upper Manhattan, penthouse. Or it doesn't need to be rich or famous. It can also be, I have nothing, I am poor. Or I am ugly. Or there are many in our mind. We create different identities based on appearance, upon people, upon relationships, upon our possessions, identities based on what we own, what we do. And there may be another identity growing, mother. And if child goes to Yale, then that one goes very big. All these identities is what we call ego. Now, say there is the identity of mother. And my child goes to Yale Law School. If the child is away and no one knows her as mother of that child, and this identity is strong, will she feel excited? She will be bored. Because at that moment, this identity is dominant, and that identity doesn't get its food. No one knows that her son goes to Yale, sorry. Not planned, slip of the tongue. Yale. Or if she is in a culture, she goes traveling and no one cares. No one even knows what Yale stands for. She would kind of feel bored because no one is recognizing, no one is acknowledging, no one is feeding this identity. And so if there is another identity based on hip-hop music, I like hip-hop music and I enjoy hip-hop music, I'm listening to hip-hop music. There's an identity based on that. Now he goes to what? What? Polynesia. Polynesia, and they don't even know what is hip-hop. You'll be bored. Or he has to go to some community fire meeting and listen to what the regulations are. He wants to go listen to hip-hop. Bored. Now, we not have only one or two of these within us. We have many of these. Now, someone who is firm in the identity of wife, she will be bored if husband is not around. Because that is her sense of who she is, what she is, sense of value is based on that identity. Now, someone is likes piano, sing. Now we have many, many different identities within, built up because of the culture we grow in, because of the environment that we are exposed to. And we kind of need these identities to be supported by the environment, to feel excited, to feel worthy, to feel valuable, to enjoy. Is this easy to understand? I'm trying to see. Now, what to do about this? Because in this state, we will always be bored. Some sense of boredom will always be there. Unless that identity gets its food all the time. And that is not possible. No, even a mother of the son who goes to Yale, son will not always be around. And she will not always be in situations where people recognize her and acknowledge that. Someone who, the wife, husband will not always be around to say, oh, my wife, to kind of give that boost. And anyway, this is a life of crutches. Because we need those external situations all the time to kind of feel good.
I wonder if Sister Ron, is that just conditioned by environment? Because once when we live in a big metropolis such as New York, we experience so much information, feelings, environmental things. But I know there's monks in Tibet and they meditate the whole day and they're never bored. They don't even like.
So what is it? What is it?
It's the boredom spirit. Yeah.
What can we do to avoid this?
Uncondition ourselves.
Unconditionally?
Not attach ourselves to all those things.
Attach ourselves to all those things.
So recognize our true identity without recognize our true identity without
Recognize the
external.
true identity without external reinforcement, without the need for external acknowledgement or reinforcement.
Grow more in the spirit.
Grow more into spirit.
Yeah.
So how do we do that?
I think part of it is because what we said before is that we have so much, like I've gone to India, for instance, and I've seen people in like really the worst poverty ever, but they still smile at you, and it was mind blowing for me because I was just like, wow, like they've nothing and they still smile at you. I think there's something about just the society that we're in now is just this. There's just too much, but the too much is not going away.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like what can we do
And even if
to
it
deal
would
with the
go
too
away,
much?
then you would be in a situation of poverty, which will scratch quite a few of these egos, and they might be coming down. They might be less dominant, definitely, but maybe that is not the real solution either, because there's no virtue in poverty either. I'm not saying that there is virtue
I'm not saying there's virtue in it.
in overdoing it and too much either, but there is no virtue, not real virtue in poverty either. Although poverty might teach us certain lessons and value certain things better, definitely.
Yeah.
But would there be a way to not have to go through poverty to kind of get it? So this is where we will come to the spiritual model. This is the model that we at present live with. You are nothing when you are born, and you become something based upon what you do, what you own, who you have around you, what position you get. Now, in this culture, it is very important to know what someone does. When you introduce yourself, you say your name and you say what career, what work you do. In other cultures, that is not so important. They want to know what religion you belong to and whether you're married or not. That is, that is like the lens through which they see each other. But it is still the same deeper mechanism. Now, the spiritual model is a bit different. The spiritual model says you are a non-physical being, and I'm going to represent that being as light. You are a spiritual being of consciousness with complete higher potential. So there is the unlimited potential to freedom, unlimited potential to joy, unlimited potential of wisdom, unlimited potential of peace, unlimited potential of security. This is what you are. And this being comes into a body of a baby first, and then the body grows big. But this, as an inner being, is there from the beginning. And whether you accumulate or not accumulate, whether you educate or not educate, whether you acquire or not acquire, that is extra. Your sense of value and your sense of identity and your sense of self-esteem comes from who you are spiritually. And so you have high brand shoe and Calvin Klein handbag and whatever. That is extra. That is like decoration for the vehicle. That's fine. But your sense of identity is based on the inner being and the treasures that you carry with you as a spiritual being. And so we do not, in this model, we do not come into this world as nothing and as no one. We come as higher beings. Some even use this word divine potential. We come with that. That is our innate nature. That is our true treasure. And with that endless treasure, you come into, how would you call this? Flesh. Yes, what else?
Physical body.
Physical body. What else? Vehicle. Very good. What else? Dress. Very good. Bodysuit. Costume. Very good. So your sense of self is this being that has the power to think, that has the power to discern, that has the power to experience, that has the potential to be wise and free, timeless, and transcending the limitations of matter, transcending the limitations of the body, but also transcending the limitations of everything around. So this becomes like the main sense of identity in a consciousness like that. And if this being enters the physical world, and the physical world is, this is the, I don't want to waste paper, but if the physical world is like a box, no? So say the whole physical universe is like a box. There are bodies in that box. There is the sun, and there is moon, and the stars, and the galaxy, and there is dollars, and there's your iPhone, and the whole Wi-Fi, and job, and countries, and the UN, and everything is in that box. And this spiritual being enters this box. Spiritual being gets into the vehicle of the body and plays out this game of life. And this spirit of game is what generates the feeling of what did you say? Repeat, we did not have entertainment. Yeah. Entertainment and a traveler. Excitement. Adventure. Very good. Spirit of adventure. If this internally is the positioning, huge, infinite treasures within my own being, endless potential, and we approach life in the physical world as a game, as an adventure, then every scene is a challenge. Every scene is something new. Every scene has some excitement or something different.
Even though the material things in the physical world we don't want to attach to, but however, we do learn to love, learn virtues, but our soul does grow in the physical, through lessons in the physical world. So those are not extra, right? We come to the physical world and we have lessons to learn, and the lessons are not extra, they're necessary for us to grow as souls.
If you have infinite potential, then you're not dependent on any specific seed. You can grow with any seed. So it is not that I have to be specially with this person, only with this person. Then you get trapped. And then you create another ego. And then when that person is not there, what will happen? You will not only be bored, you will be miserable. Because your sense of self and your sense of value starts to depend upon that other person. And not only that, you're putting that other person in jail. You sit here. Where's my chain? And you're putting yourself in jail. Because you can't be fulfilled, or you can't just be at ease and in peace, whether that person is there or not there. And so even if the person is there, you still feel unpleasant because they might leave and they will not be there all the time. So even when there is at the physical level that company, then still you are insecure because it might not last. This is a life of crutches. And so even the quality of the interaction and the quality of that relationship at this level is not the highest possible. Because there is an inner sense of neediness. And not a sense of fulfillment and sharing that fulfillment. So if we want to get out of the boredom, we can experiment with this different perspective on self and different perspective on life. Just for a moment. Shall we try? Just play with it for a moment. Try and get into this mindset of being an invisible experiencer. A being with pure higher potential. And just play with the thought that the whole physical world, including this body, is like a sophisticated game. Just try and grasp that mindset as if like children, everything is a game for them. There's a cockroach. Oh, nice toy. Walking on the street. Oh, some litter there. Nice, interesting scene. Try, even if it is just for a few moments, grasp that mindset. Game. Extra. Everything is extra. This body is extra. Others around are extra. Flowers are extra. And it becomes a gift. And just try and grasp how it feels if you get that mindset. There may be a sense of lightness or ease, or a sense of fun. Kind of childlike, not childish, childlike attitude. And as we go through the rest of the journey, maybe we can aim to play with this kind of spirit. Game and adventure. And everything is extra. A gift. Thank you. Any observations?
You say game, is it like, what's the objective? What's the objective of the game, or what's the rules of the game? And when I say, you say game, that's what I think. I'm like,
What is the objective of a game?
It's not to win or lose, it's just to enjoy.
very good. Why do we have lost actually that feeling? No? Even children these days, they hardly play anymore. Also, we have lost as if that spirit of game. And this is a huge, sophisticated game. So the deeper aim of a game is to enjoy it and to increase your skills to deal with whatever the game brings in front of you. Isn't it? Because there are skills inside and they are brought out by the different situations in the game. And you, as in need to refine the skills to deal with it. So someone says something not so nice to you. In this mindset, say someone says, "You're an awful mother." In this mindset, you feel terrible. And you feel that person is my enemy. In this mindset, what do you think?
Just an opinion.
You know, when tennis players, good tennis players, they hit with special effect. No? Or any game that has it's like a special sports, it has like a special effect. So this is like a special effect in this game. Someone saying something funny. So you internally get the feeling, how do I deal with this? Without it putting me down. How can I play this ball?
Thank you for sharing.
Hmm?
Thank you for sharing.
How can I play this ball? Yeah. And it doesn't diminish the value of the being that I am. Because someone saying something about some role that is played out in the game. So, in this bigger perspective, the game, the purpose of the game is to play the game, use all the skills to play the game, enjoy playing the game, even if there are obstacles, even if there are all kinds of challenging situations. You like playing the game more like.
Biggest obstacle is your own ego.
Yes.
So, as something attacking your ego. But if
Exactly.
you take it in a more critical way, maybe you think you're taking it seriously. Maybe she's right in some ways. Let me see how I can improve myself
Exactly.
as a mother.
Yeah.
You know, then don't have to use the ego.
Exactly. You don't need to take offense. You take offense because you identify with it and you think, oh, if you don't take offense, I'm playing this role. No, they are giving me advice on maybe I should look at it differently and play it differently. Then you are also fine. Now the rules of the game, that is a different story. There are many rules of this game. And for that, I cannot cover all of them in just the lecture. For that, I would invite you to do the follow-up courses, either the meditation course or the Raj Yoga course, where there are lots of dynamics in this game. But the feeling definitely is, it is up to us to learn how to play the game. First of all, we have lost completely the spirit of game. And we are as if bogged down by anything and everything that happens today. Any little thing can scratch any of these egos, and you are miserable. Now, one person can say just one little thing and we can be sad for 2 weeks. You can't sleep. Just one person saying, I don't like your car or something, ugly, whatever, criticize your shoe, and it can be as silly as that. Someone doesn't like the t-shirt you're wearing and you're, 2 weeks depressed, can't sleep. That's not a smart way to play the game. And at this moment we are in the game already. It's not that we have choice. So better play it and play it right. Huh? But first thing is to come to that internal attitude. And lots of it depends on positioning the real self as this higher being, this being of consciousness with infinite potential. And in Raj Yoga terminology, this being is called soul or spirit. And the being, the inner being or the higher being, has this power to think. This is another gift. We have the power to think, but what has happened, this power to think, we have not refined it. And so our own thoughts are now harassing us. That happens in New York City. Our own thoughts are harassing us and making our life miserable because we have not learned to think properly, even about ourselves, let alone about others and life. And so we have this power to think, but this power is working against us now. And we want to get rid of these thoughts. So what are we doing? We put on the television to outscream our thoughts. But what is on the television most of the time is just more more topics that create more waste thoughts. Negativity. Or more anxiety. I'm not saying that television is completely bad, but I think much of it is completely useless. And then useless is still gentle. Some of it is right out damages, I think, for the inner being. Because it reinforces limited beliefs about ourselves and about life.
I think we take this game too seriously.
That means we have forgotten it is a game.
Yeah, and we forgot that the world
The
is
spirit of game is gone. And growing up, for example, in myself, I can still remember very distinctly the moment that feeling of game disappeared. And then everything in life became heavy. And I think you see it in other children. I saw it in children also, in children of cousins and so. The moment that spirit of game gets lost, and these external identities start to become more dominant. And then everything becomes a big deal. And everything becomes a threat also. And then life becomes so huge and it as if overpowers us. And then we fight with it all the time, even in our sleep. You want to say anything?
So, can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
So, say, just for instance, say someone is bullying you or abusing you in some way, right? And you, what can you do? I mean, I know you have to come to some kind of awareness that not to engage in it, because really what you're doing, if you engage in it, you're giving away your own power.
Of course.
And I mean, at the end of the day, that's just another human being, like someone who has taken the choice to be here, you know, to come here as a human being.
Yeah.
So-
And is also trapped in his own jail.
Yeah.
Or her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you like stop yourself from just engaging in that? Like just,
Again.
is it just because it just goes back and forth?
Reinforcing the spiritual identity and coming to in that experience of a timeless being that is secure and innately free. And there's just a role there that is being played. And the bully is ridiculing the role. But if I don't identify, if my deeper sense of identity and self is based on it, then it will appear as if we're talking nonsense. And not nonsense with a feeling of hate or anger,
Right.
but silly. So even at the emotional level, even at the thought level, you're not engaging. So then the bully might still say things, but you will be kind of it's whatever, someone on the opposite side of the road screaming something funny. Will you have sleepless nights over it? That kind of detachment is also the word that we use for that. And deeper inside, the richness of your feelings are because of your spiritual nature and identity.
Your self-respect.
Yeah, higher self-respect. Get the sense of it?
Yes.
But
Yes.
this is not common because we have created a culture worldwide that uses this model. So this mental positioning requires reinforcement. It requires attention. It requires continuously coming back to the understanding of the self as a spiritual being. And getting into that feeling of experiencer or of adventurer or traveler or player of the game. Now, there is an anecdote, a true story, and some of you may have heard about it. There was a cricket player, you know cricket? Favorite sport in the former British Empire. So Indians, someone must know it. But there was, this was in the 80s, there was a cricket player come truck driver from Australia, and he was in the national team of Australia, and he was a baller, what do they call it? Pitcher. And he was known and famed and feared for his fast bowling. So he broke the world record fast bowling, and he could not even see when he threw a ball. So his bowling used to cause head injury of the batsman and different thing, because they would not be ready for the bowling. So there was the championships of the, what is it called? The British. Yeah, but all the former British colonies and the Commonwealth, there were the Commonwealth Games, cricket Commonwealth Games. And they were in London, so all the teams would come to London, and the Australian team comes to London, and the reporters ask this baller, "Don't you feel bad?" And he said, "What?" He said, "Because your fast bowling causes so many injuries." He said, "Why should I feel bad?" He's lorry driver, no, he's a bit roughed up. He said, "What? I have ball, I use the ball. They have bat, they should use their bat." Why you are blaming me? I'm doing good what I'm supposed to be doing. They should train themselves to be good at what they are doing. So, in a bigger picture, balls are being thrown at you. And some balls are fast balls, some balls have special effect and twist and whatever. Why blame
The pitcher.
the pitcher? You have a bat, use your bat. And if you don't know how to use it, learn to use it. Your bat is your mind, your wisdom, your discernment, your perspective on life. And a good batsman doesn't need to use much effort on his own. He will use the force and the energy of the baller. Because if you hit the ball at the right angle, at the right moment, it will go back. And he will not be able to catch it. Because you use the special effect to trick him now. So maybe this is the lesson we need to learn how to play this game. And if we have this attitude, there won't be boredom. Because there will be that conviction of the strength of your higher nature. And then there will be the attitude of bringing out that higher nature in the game. And then every situation is an opportunity. But don't wait till the special effect ball comes. You have to train beforehand. Because the special effect balls may be all kinds of complicated situations, but for those you need to be prepared beforehand. So when the going is good, that is the time when you practice. When the going is good, you remind yourself of this. When the going is good, you try and get a hold of how does this feel? We call this soul consciousness. Play with this attitude when the going is good. So that when the special effect fast baller comes, you're ready. You don't need to practice at that time. And there are many special effects these days from many places. You want to say anything? Anyone? Anyone? Bored?
I'll say something. I guess, like being me, one of the lenses I can view this through is like art, which is something I do. And I was just like thinking about the fact that sometimes I don't take value in the ability to think of these things, but I place more of the value on what does everyone else think about this thing that I created. And I guess it goes from something like being something beautiful that I created or that I thought of to being weighed down by
someone paying money for it.
basically, you know. And I guess in some situations, like we are kind of placed in that where, you know, something we make has to sell, it has to do certain things, I guess, to support everything else in our lives, you know, whether that may mean rent or whatever the case is. But I don't know, it's just something I was throwing out there. The fact that, like, sometimes I go from appreciating this thing and being disappointed because, you know, people don't react to it in a certain way.
We start creating the whole area, we did not even go into that, expectations and assumptions and desires that we then create based on all of that. But it brings us in such a limitation, and it kind of contaminates our inner world. And it also diminishes our creativity in the long run. And there's nothing wrong with money or working or producing whatever, but if that becomes the basis of your sense of self, we are trapped. And that ultimately also limits our creative internal processes.
Yeah, so you're saying that purpose of the game is to enjoy, and so then I'm wondering, what does it mean to enjoy? And what I mean by that is, like when I think of the traditional definition of a game in my mind, it's like you're trying to win something or get something or accumulate something, and that's a goal, and you get enjoyment when you get or do whatever you were trying to do for a brief period of time until that enjoyment goes away, and then you start again. And so if that's not the model, what is enjoyment?
There are always two versions, no? Game these days has become, what is it? Competitive, yeah. I remember when, as children, we used to play games all the time, and it was not about winning. It was about being together. It was about enjoying what we're doing, and ultimately who wins or not wins. Even if they win, it doesn't really matter anyway, because it's not that there is some prize attached to it. But we just love playing the game. When I go swimming, I don't go swimming because I need to win. I just love swimming. And to come back into that spirit again. We have lost that. And it all comes down to these identities. These identities, they want to win. And they need to win to feel good about themselves. All we can do at this moment in time, we accept we're at this level, but play with this concept. And like children, little children, they play games not to win. They just enjoy playing different games and being with each other. And a friend of ours, he used to be a professional soccer player. And he says, he was made to the National League or something, that is how it's called. Anyway, he was professional at some stage. But he says, the times when he most enjoyed playing was the time when it was not about winning at all. And yeah.
I think I'm just suggesting that to enjoy playing the game is to enjoy getting better at playing the game, to enjoy increasing your skills, mastering the game.
Maybe that is also part of the game.
Yeah.
But even really little children, it is even not about that. And I've seen with myself also, when it really doesn't matter, just enjoying the game in itself, whether I'm good at it or not, and sharing with others, then there is a deeper sense of what is it?
Happening.
Fulfillment or happiness. Yeah. like for example, at this moment in time, Brahma is standing here and Brahma is talking. If I'm standing here talking, trying to impress all of you, I will enjoy less than if I just feel friendship and feel a feeling of sharing and learning myself, or bringing out the best within others, but not that sense of I have to perform and I have to. Then there will be a deeper, what is it? There will be more pressure. But also I will feel you all are potentially enemies because you might outshine me. You understand? And then it becomes like a complication. And that deeper joy is not there. But this is even at the level of action. But at the spiritual level, there is the feeling all here are also spiritual beings. All here are also higher beings with beautiful higher potential. And there's a family of souls. And we're playing this game. Play with this. I mean, there is a vast body of knowledge behind all of this and lots of more things to explore and to experiment. But to come out of this sense of boredom and this sense of routine and competitiveness and the same thing all over again, maybe we have to shift our inner position. And that's what spiritual knowledge is suggesting. And then life can be extra fun. Okay, time has come. Sometimes Haima says to me, you're so serious. So I have to make more effort to be more fun. True, isn't it? Yes.
So I have a question. So the question is, sometimes, for example, if Einstein was here and someone says stupid to him, so like Einstein will never believe that I'm stupid, or people around him will never believe that he's stupid. And even in my case, I feel the same. I mean, no, I mean,
You're Einstein reincarnated.
no, I'm not Einstein or something, but I don't think that I'm stupid. But sometimes people around me try to believe, enforce that I'm stupid, because I might be not according to their gut. I mean, I might not be following their rules.
Yeah, they're conditioned ideas of how you should be.
Yeah. So in that case, how I should, I mean, what should
Change. You're a pioneer. Pioneer.
Yes, I mean, yeah.
Okay, let's close with a few moments. Well, so maybe this is kind of a homework, if you like, or maybe not homework, to play with whilst playing the game. Come back every now and then to this reminding the self of your own higher nature, that we exist as souls, and that one way to approach life is as a player, an adventurer. And all the different situations in the drama of life are just different scenes in the play. And try and get a feel of this consciousness of being a being of light. body as a tool. Try and get the feel of that lightness, where everything is extra. Everyone is extra. The inner being is self-contained. Child, the master. The soul. And everything that is extra becomes like a gift. Thank you. For those who are here for the first time,